Alrighty, so today we're going to go over how to center on the potter's wheel. So first thing that we need to do is we're going to, with a damp sponge, this is really dry, just really barely wet, I'm going to add some water. We don't want too much water on this because too much water is going to cause the clay to want to slide, and it creates this slip and slide effect. So just a very, very mildly damp sponge is all we need. And then you're going to get a ball of clay about the size of a baseball, and you're just going to pat that into a perfect circle, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this right in this center ring here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it 3 good pats. 1, 2, 3. Maybe 5. A couple good pats so that it's on there. And then what I like to do is just kind of press the sides and turn the wheel a little bit. Just like that. Alright. So when we're working on the potter's wheel, we want the potter's wheel to be spinning counterclockwise if we're right-handed. So that should be spinning counterclockwise. And it should be going all the way, okay? So we're going to talk about centering here for our first portion of this, working on the potter's wheel. Centering is so key because it gets that clay on center, meaning in the middle of the wheel, so that we can make symmetrical artwork. So I'm going to talk through the 3 hand motions that we need for centering. All right, so first things first, we want to make sure that that clay is always wet. Move this out of the way here. So that clay should always be wet. So the first motion for centering, I'm going to take and make sure I have my left hand here, and I'm going to be pushing on the clay with the bottom of my palm. So I'm going to be pushing at 6, imagine this is a clock, right? I'm going to be pushing at 6, and then my right hand's going to come in and push the clay down. Alright, and that gives us what we call a compression. So the first hand motion is the left hand pushing, squeezing the clay, and pressing down on the clay, all at the same time. Okay? So that is compression. Alright, again, I push with my palm, I squeeze with my fingers, and then I press down on the clay with my palm. I like to interlock my hands like that. That way it's not moving around separately. It helps me use them as one. So as you can tell, the clay is kind of on center, but it's still kind of bouncing around. So we're going to do the second step of centering, which we call coning. So coning is where we take, and if we push on the clay this way, it's going to want to go across the wheel. So if I squeeze, so if I push and I squeeze, it's going to raise that clay straight up towards the camera here. Notice I'm adding a lot of water to this. So I'm going to push on the clay, and I'm going to squeeze. And then I'm going to compress the clay, and that's going to give you a cone shape. Hey, Alan. So again, a push and a squeeze will raise that clay and give a cone shape. So now we're going to do the third step of centering, which is what we call a compression again. So we're going to go back to that compression stage. We're going to push and squeeze, and then that top hand is just going to compress the clay downward into my left hand. And that should get the clay directly on center.